Hey there, my name is Seth Faust, and I'm a farm planner with Kitsap Conservation District here in Kitsap County, Washington. Today we wanted to highlight a recent workshop we held with the purpose of giving you all a deep dive on an ever-growing knowledge base of little-known conservation know-how, biochar. The early February biochar workshop was held at Roots Farm, which is owned by Kitsap County farmer Jen Clark.
My name is Jen Clark, and I own Roots Farm, and we are a diversified fruit and vegetable farm. We raise pastured pork, and we are shifting to research and education with focus on food access.
Pierce Conservation District joined us to collaborate on the event.
I'm James Moore. I'm the Climate Resilience Manager at Pierce Conservation. I do pretty much two major programs. One is wildfire prevention, and the other is grant writing technical assistance for the Rural Energy for America program with the USDA.
Much of the information shared at this talk comes from the wonderfully educational book about biochar written by Kelpie Wilson, as well as the learned experience of all of our wonderful experts. Funding for this video comes from the Sustainable Farms and Fields Grant from the Washington State Conservation Commission. What is biochar? In the shortest, simplest, most succinct explanation, biochar is a fancy word for charcoal that's been buried into farm fields as a multifaceted amendment. Of course, it's not quite as simple as running to the store for a bag of charcoal briquettes and dumping them on your fields to get bigger tomatoes. No. But over the course of this video, we're going to touch on the benefits of biochar, how you can get it to work with you, and how you can make it for yourself with examples given from this recent workshop. What is biochar good for? How can I use it on my property? Well, there are loads of uses. It assists with drought conditions by holding water in the soil, fertilizer shortages by holding nutrients in the soil, dead soil by improving conditions for beneficial soil microbes, smelly manure and compost by supporting good microbes, balancing the carbon-nitrogen ratio, and retaining nutrients, polluted soil by immobilizing heavy metals and other contaminants, flooding by improving rainwater filtration, forest fire prevention by turning excess fuel loads into water-holding soil. As you can see, there are seemingly endless use cases. Entire industries have been built around the creation and application of biochar's uses. I want you to meet an industry expert who is in attendance of our workshop.
My name is Francesco Tortorici, and I live in Port Townsend, and I was the co-founder and the co-owner of Olympic Biochar, based out of Port Townsend. Personally, I've been working with biochar probably about 15, 16 years.
Folks like Francesco have been busy spreading the word about biochar and its relation to compost. It's very similar to compost when using it to add to soils. They both improve the tilth and reduce soil bulk density, they increase soil water holding capacity, they increase cation exchange capacity and retain minerals in plant available form. These two amendments can work in harmony to make the biochar compost mixture a more nutrient-rich, more biologically diverse, and more humid and stable product.
Especially when it comes to biochar, if you have biochar and you have compost, mix the biochar with your compost. By the time when you're starting the compost, when the compost is ready, the biochar is ready also.
We're going for it.
How can I make biochar myself? If I have no experience whatsoever, where can I start? How can I get my hands on this wonder stuff to get to use on my property?
Well, first thing I always say is hands-on experience is best. So a lot of conservation districts or fire associations often have demos. There's also, you can work getting your burn manager certification. It's not hard. It's like a 3-day training. They give you some really good tips and tricks on just general practices with burns, even though burning is not necessarily the end goal for biochar. But beyond that, contact your local conservation district, because at very least they can act as a resource to connect you to the right people.
As James hinted at there, the main goal of a biochar creation fire is not to burn the input material. The scientific term for biochar creation is pyrolysis. This comes from the Greek words for fire, which is pyro, and separation, which is lysis. Most fires that you and I think of burn completely, with the wood that we threw in turning from logs to coals to embers to ash, with most of us opting to douse the fire in the embers/ashy phase because the beach party is wrapped up or the s'more supplies have all been eaten. But for a biochar burn, the ideal end goal is the coal stage, and the key to ending the process there is managing the oxygen levels of the fire. And that management is all done without a single thought from any of the fire tenders, and it's all thanks to the structure of our kiln. That begs the question, what sort of kiln are you using? Well, here we're using a flame cap kiln. More specifically, this is a special type of flame cap kiln called a ring of fire. This has a two-layered ring setup that blocks any air from entering the fire except for at the very top of the rim. Gas flows upward while combustion air flows downward. Countercurrent flow is established as burning fuel draws air downward. The flames stay low and close to the biomass, minimizing embers' escape. The smoke recirculates inside the kiln and burns in the flame. Very little air is able to reach the unburned biochar that falls to the bottom of the kiln. The biochar is preserved there until the end of the process when it's quenched with water. When a heat shield is present, it insulates the kiln against heat loss by radiation, while also protecting the folks on the outside from excessive heat. One thing I'd be silly not to stress is safety. As always with massive fires, having a plan and proper safety gear is key.
Okay, if you're using biochar, and this biochar that's dry, if you're using just a little bit, you put it as a potted plants, but almost regardless, I would highly recommend wear an N95 dust mask, wear eye protections.
I'm betting that I could hear you now, you skeptic. This looks like such a well-managed operation. How are you expecting me to afford this type of kiln? Well, first of all, it's very important to note that this kiln is only one of many designs for biochar kilns. You do not need a flame cap kiln in order to make biochar. Biochar can be made completely kilnless. It can also be made on the other side of the spectrum with multiple high-scale burning kilns fitted with heat-capturing devices to work in tandem to create the most amount of biochar with the most energy-efficient methods. And I will say that if you're worried about price, then meander on down to your local conservation district to see if they have one you can borrow.
What would be your recommendation for somebody who's like a farmer who has never tried biochar before and is interested in the process?
What would I say? Well, take a class if you can find it and just try it. It's very accessible. Wood waste is everywhere. And as I was telling a lot of people in the class, you do not have to have a fancy kiln to do it. You can do it with a modified 55-gallon barrel, or you can just do it in a pit in the ground, which is free.
Biochar is such an intricate substance. It's incredible the way its physical and chemical structure relates to its role in implementing the best conservation practices.
If you look at biochar under an electron microscope, it's mostly space. So it becomes this home for microbes, bacteria, all the little small wee beasties.
Francesco is exactly right. One of my favorite applications of biochar has to be how it becomes a new home for all the little critters that make soil so great. Well, that's all well and good, but what should I do with the leftover charcoal, you might be asking? Is it ready to go straight from the fire into the soil?
Don't put it in the soil, just biochar. You will be disappointed. It needs to be charged first with something like a fish emulsion or worm tea or mixed with your compost before you put it in. And biochar will be the sort of thing that you will see that the first year it will have some results, but 4 and 5 years later, the results really will start. You'll start seeing. It's the gift that keeps on giving back.
At the very least, it's usable pretty much, I would say, that the product is usable anywhere. And it's just interesting to see how even beginning farmers or farm schools can learn from this stuff. Because even though the technology's been around for thousands of years, it's now that we're just really starting to pay attention to it here, at least in Washington.
Biochar really does just keep giving and giving. We're now at the end of the process, where we're opening up the rings of the kiln to give our dousing crew the space to work with the leftover biochar. Dousing the fire is pretty simple. Keep spraying water on the biochar while you rake it, so then it loses the heat. Once the biochar is cool enough to touch with your bare hands, you can transfer it into bags or containers for storage. Jen Clark has the brilliant idea to pulverize the biochar after it's dried out, but before storing it away, to give it that extra boost to the overall surface area of the product. With this almost magically porous substance, the smaller the grain size means the more surface area, which is more carrying capacity to store those vital nutrients for plants and little detritivores.
What is your plan for this biochar that we've made here today?
So this biochar, the plan is to grind it in our grinder, and we will be adding it to our thermophilic compost piles, and most of it is actually going to be added into our vermicompost bins, where it'll be essentially charged or inoculated and ready to be added to the field.
We need to give the largest shout out possible to Kelpie Wilson and the folks who helped craft the incredibly insightful Biochar Handbook, a practical guide to making and using bioactivated charcoal. Much of the biochar knowledge base we have today comes from spreading this type of information by word of mouth or written into knowledgeable texts like these. So, on that note, thank you so very much for watching. I know there are so many avenues of biochar use cases as well as creation and management techniques that this video could run on for hours, and it would still feel like we're just scratching the surface. But we're hoping this gives you at least a starting off point, pushing you into the right biochar adjacent direction.
Well, it's rewarding to see where biochar has grown, and it is growing more and more every day. And it's especially on farms like this farm, they're starting to incorporate it themselves. The organizations like USDA and the different conservation districts make funds available to do it. And I will just say that be careful when you open the door and start going down that biochar wormhole, because who knows where it will lead you.
Yeah. Biggest advice, call us up. Give us a phone call or email if that's more comfortable. But I, for one, love to talk, and I know everyone loves to talk shop, because this is, for a lot of us, this isn't just a job. This is something that we really enjoy doing.
Well, thank you so much for watching this video, and if you have any questions, contact the Kitsap Conservation District for more details.